The Kraxan warships emerged from hyperspace like obsidian shadows against Earth's azure skies. Their arrival silenced every broadcast, stilled every satellite, and drew every eye upward. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from her underground laboratory as the emergency feeds displayed the massive vessels taking position around the planet. Her fingers tightened around her coffee mug, but her hand remained steady. Such primitive infrastructure, the Kraxan Supreme Commander's voice boomed across every functioning communication channel. Such fragile beings. The alien's words dripped with contempt as his holographic image materialized in town squares and government chambers worldwide. His crystalline exoskeleton caught the light, creating rainbow refractions that belied the coldness in his compound eyes. In the United Earth Defense Council chamber, General Maya Santos kept her expression neutral as she faced the alien projection. Behind her, representatives from every nation stood united, their faces illuminated by the harsh glow of the hologram. The general's weathered features betrayed nothing of the silent signal she'd just sent to Chen's facility. "You've already lost," the Kraxan commander continued. "Your bodies are unsuited for true warfare. Your bones break under pressures we consider routine. Your muscles tear under loads we bear from birth. You are," he paused, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement, essentially children playing at civilization. In her lab, Chen allowed herself a small smile as she received the general's signal. She turned to the rows of screens displaying the status of facilities identical to hers, buried deep beneath every continent. Green lights blinked back at her. "Ready, ready, ready." "Children," she murmured, "have a habit of surprising their elders." The Kraxan commander's hologram gestured expansively. "We've studied your species extensively. Your limited physical capabilities have forced you to rely on crude mechanical assistance for even basic tasks. Your vehicles, your construction equipment, your defensive technologies, all crutches to compensate for your inherent weaknesses." In the council chamber, General Santos finally spoke. "And what would you have us do, Supreme Commander?" Her voice was calm, measured, revealing nothing of the anticipation building in her chest. "Submit," the alien replied simply. "Accept your place as a protectorate of the Kraxan Empire. Your worlds will be preserved, your people protected, under our guidance, of course. Resist, and we will demonstrate true strength." In facilities across the globe, Chen's colleagues monitored their systems. Beneath the streets of major cities, beneath desert sands and polar ice, vast chambers hummed with power. Decades of preparation, trillions in combined resources, and the greatest secret humanity had ever kept were about to be revealed. "Your assertion about our reliance on mechanical assistance is interesting," General Santos said, allowing a trace of steel to enter her voice. "Would you say your species has never needed to adapt, to overcome limitations?" The commander's crystalline features shifted in what might have been a frown. "We evolved to perfection. Our bodies are natural weapons, our minds natural computers. We need no artificial augmentation." "Fascinating," Santos replied. "Then perhaps we should discuss the nature of evolution itself." She stepped forward, her uniform catching the light. "You see, you're correct about humanity's physical limitations. We are, compared to many species, rather fragile. But you've made a critical error in your analysis." In her lab, Chen received the final authorization code. Her fingers flew across her console, initiating the sequence they'd rehearsed countless times. Across the planet, buried facilities thrummed to life. "You mistake our use of tools as weakness," Santos continued. "You see our reliance on technology as a crutch. But you fail to understand. Our physical limitations didn't weaken us. They forced us to become something far more dangerous than natural evolution could have produced." The Kraxan commander's dismissive laugh echoed through the chamber. "And what would that be, General?" Santos smiled, and for the first time, there was genuine emotion in her expression. "Innovation incarnate. Dr. Chen, if you would." Deep beneath the Earth's surface, Chen pressed the final activation key. The ground began to tremble, not from weapons fire or orbital bombardment, but from something else. Something rising. The Kraxan commander's hologram flickered as his sensors detected massive power signatures erupting across the planet. His compound eyes widened as the first launch doors began to open. "You see," Santos said, her voice carrying clearly despite the growing rumble. "When a species evolves perfect natural weapons, they often stop evolving. But when a species is born vulnerable..." She paused as the first massive forms began to rise from hidden bunkers worldwide. They never stopped creating new ones. The Kraxan commander's next words died in his throat as he saw what humanity had been hiding. Rising from the earth like ancient gods of steel and carbon fiber came humanity's response to their own physical limitations. Towering suits of armor, each a masterpiece of engineering, each powered by technology that had been developed in secret for decades. Chen watched her screens as the first wave of pilots merged with their suits. The neural interfaces she'd spent her career perfecting came online flawlessly. In these machines, human fragility became irrelevant. Their perceived weakness had driven them to create something far beyond natural evolution. "Perhaps," Santos said to the now silent commander, "we should discuss terms again. After all, we wouldn't want anyone to appear weak." As the armor units took up defensive positions around every major city, Chen allowed herself to fully smile. The Kraxan had made the oldest mistake in the universe, assuming that physical strength was the only kind that mattered. They were about to learn why humanity's greatest weapon had always been its mind. The war for Earth was about to begin, and humanity's supposed weakness was about to become its greatest strength. Commander James Rodriguez stood in the vast underground hangar of Facility 01, his eyes scanning the rows of dormant armor suits that stretched into the shadows. Each unit stood 3 stories tall, their dark surfaces absorbing the harsh industrial lighting. Above them, massive launch doors waited to open to the sky for the first time in decades. "Status report," he called out, his voice echoing through the cavernous space. Around him, technicians and pilots moved with practiced precision, conducting final checks on the machines that represented humanity's greatest technological achievement. Lieutenant Kaijong appeared at his side, tablet in hand. "All systems are green across the board, Commander. Dr. Chen's neural interface updates have been implemented in all first-wave units. The pilots are ready." Rodriguez nodded, watching as the first team of pilots approached their assigned suits. These weren't just soldiers. They were the elite few whose minds could handle the neural load of merging with the advanced armor systems. Each had trained for years in simulators, preparing for a day they hoped would never come. "The Kraxan have begun their initial deployment," Kai reported, bringing up a tactical display. "They're positioning assault craft in the upper atmosphere. Still no sign they've detected our facilities." In the command center above the hangar floor, Dr. Chen's voice came through the facility's communication system. "Commander, we're receiving telemetry from our orbital sensors. The Kraxan are deploying what appear to be atmospheric suppression units. They're trying to modify our atmosphere to match their homeworld's composition." Rodriguez's jaw tightened. They really do think we're helpless. How long until they realize their atmospheric attacks aren't working? "The planetary shield grid is holding," Chen replied. "They haven't detected the energy barrier yet. It's operating exactly as designed, appearing to allow their atmospheric changes while actually neutralizing them. But they'll figure it out soon." Around them, the first wave of pilots were entering their suits. Rodriguez watched as the armor units came to life, their surfaces shifting from dark absorption to active camouflage modes. The neural interface system that Chen had perfected allowed the pilots to control these massive machines as naturally as their own bodies. More naturally, in some ways. "Remember," Rodriguez addressed the pilots through the command channel, "these suits aren't just weapons. They're the next step in human evolution, an evolution we chose, rather than one thrust upon us by nature. The Kraxan think their natural armor makes them superior. Let's show them what artificial improvement can do." In her command center, Dr. Chen monitored the neural feedback from the connecting pilots. The interfaces were performing perfectly, allowing human consciousness to expand into machines that could match and exceed Kraxan physical capabilities. Each suit was a masterpiece of engineering, combining strength, speed, and adaptability in ways that would have seemed impossible just a few decades ago. "Commander," she called down to Rodriguez, "we're detecting increased activity in the Kraxan fleet. They're starting to realize something's wrong with their atmospheric attack." Rodriguez stood in the maintenance bay, watching as technicians repaired minor damage to the first wave of armored units. "Is that a problem, Doctor?" he asked, noting the mix of concern and excitement in her voice. "Not exactly," Chen replied. "But the Kraxan aren't defeated yet, and they're about to show us why they dominated so many other species. They're changing their strategy." Above Earth's atmosphere, the remaining Kraxan ships were indeed implementing a new approach. Supreme Commander Vexthor had realized that conventional warfare wouldn't work against humanity's adaptive armor. Instead, he unveiled a weapon that targeted what he still believed to be humanity's greatest weakness: their biological limitations. "They're deploying some kind of resonance field," Lieutenant Zhang reported, his fingers flying over holographic displays. "It's designed to interfere with neural patterns. They're trying to break the connection between pilots and suits." Dr. Chen's team worked frantically to analyze the new threat. The Kraxan weapon was sophisticated. It didn't just attack the neural interface. It attempted to overwhelm the human nervous system itself. Several pilots had already reported severe headaches and disorientation. "They still think our biology is our weakness," Chen muttered, fingers dancing across her console. "They don't understand. We built our systems knowing our limitations. We planned for this." In orbit, Vexthor watched with satisfaction as the resonance field expanded. "See how fragile they truly are," he transmitted to his fleet. "Their machines cannot protect them from their own biological weaknesses." But something unexpected was happening. The neural network linking humanity's armor units wasn't breaking down. It was adapting. Deep within the system's code, algorithms that Dr. Chen had designed to mimic human neural plasticity were responding to the attack in ways even she hadn't anticipated. "Commander," she called to Rodriguez, excitement overriding concern. "The network is developing countermeasures faster than their weapon can adapt. The suits aren't just protecting the pilots. They're teaching themselves how to shield human consciousness from external interference." Rodriguez felt it through his own neural link, a strengthening of the connection, a sense of the armor becoming more attuned to human thought patterns rather than less. "Doctor, what exactly did you build into these systems?" "I built them to learn," she replied simply. "Just like the human brain adapts to trauma or damage by finding new neural pathways, our network is creating new connections to bypass the Kraxan attack. We're not just surviving their weapon. We're becoming stronger because of it." In the Kraxan flagship, alarms began to sound. The resonance field wasn't having the expected effect. Instead of disrupting the human pilots, it seemed to be making their responses more efficient, more unpredictable. "Impossible." Vexthor raged, watching as his supposedly perfect weapon failed. "Their biological weakness should make this attack unstoppable." Dr. Chen's voice cut through all frequencies, addressing the Kraxan commander directly. "You still don't understand. We humans have never been defined by our physical limitations. We're defined by how we overcome them. Every attack you launch teaches us something new. Every weakness you target becomes another opportunity to adapt." The armor units were moving again, their formations even more fluid and coordinated than before. The neural network had not only adapted to the resonance field, but had incorporated its principles into the interface system, strengthening the bond between human and machine. "All units," Rodriguez commanded, "prepare for counter-attack pattern Omega. Show them what evolution really means." The Kraxan fleet faced a horrifying revelation. Their perfect biology, their evolutionary superiority, had become a prison. They could not adapt quickly enough to counter an enemy that grew stronger with every attack. Their weapon had not only failed to exploit humanity's weakness, it had helped forge humanity's strength into something even more formidable. Lieutenant Zhang's sensors detected massive energy signatures from the remaining Kraxan ships. Commander, they're preparing something big. All their remaining vessels are channeling power to their weapon systems. Dr. Chen's voice held a note of warning. They're going to try to overwhelm us with raw power. They don't understand that brute force isn't the answer anymore. As the Kraxan fleet prepared their final desperate assault, humanity's armor units stood ready. The neural network hummed with potential, each pilot connected not just to their suit, but to a system that was redefining what was possible when human consciousness merged with machine efficiency. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity's greatest perceived weakness was about to become the key to their survival. Impossible. The Kraxan commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. Your species lacks the physical capability to pilot such machines. Your nervous systems cannot handle such neural loads. Dr. Chen's laugh echoed through the command channel. You still don't understand, do you? We turned our biological limitations into advantages. Every weakness you mocked us for became an opportunity to innovate. More Kraxan ships were entering the atmosphere now, but their formation was breaking down. Their tactical doctrine, evolved over millennia of combat against physically similar species, proved useless against humanity's adaptive armor units. The suits could change their attack patterns faster than the Kraxan battle computers could analyze them. Multiple enemy ships attempting to retreat to higher orbit, Zhang reported. Their command structure is showing signs of fragmenting. Rodriguez guided his unit through a complex evasive pattern as a Kraxan cruiser opened fire. The neural interface allowed him to react faster than natural reflexes ever could, turning the massive armor suit into a blur of motion. They're learning, he commented, but not fast enough. Above the Earth's major cities, the battle was transforming into something the Kraxan had never experienced in their long history of conquest. Their superior numbers meant nothing against an enemy that could adapt faster than they could attack. Every tactic they tried was countered before it could be fully implemented. Commander, Dr. Chen's voice held a note of urgency. We're detecting a power surge in the Kraxan flagship. They're preparing to deploy something massive. The alien commander's voice thundered once more. You think your machines make you strong. Let us show you true power. The Kraxan flagship's hull began to split open, revealing what appeared to be a massive crystalline cannon. Energy readings went off the scales as it charged. All units, defensive formation Delta, Rodriguez ordered. But even as he gave the command, he saw something remarkable happening. The neural network linking the armor units was adapting, evolving new patterns in real time based on the combined intelligence of every pilot and system. The network is proposing a new counter-strategy, Dr. Chen reported, excitement clear in her voice. It's something we never simulated, but the calculations show it could work. The suits are learning, Commander. They're evolving just like we designed them to. Rodriguez made his decision instantly. All units switched to network-guided response. Let's show them what real evolution looks like. As the Kraxan weapon prepared to fire, the armor units moved in a dance that defied conventional physics. Each suit's movements complemented the others perfectly, creating a defensive pattern that was both beautiful and lethal. When the alien weapon finally discharged, its energy beam found only empty air where targets had been microseconds before. The counterattack was devastating. Armor units struck from angles the Kraxan hadn't even known existed, their weapons guided by a combat algorithm that was rewriting itself with every passing second. This wasn't just humanity fighting back. It was humanity demonstrating why adaptability would always trump rigid perfection. Your evolutionary perfection has become your weakness, Dr. Chen transmitted to the Kraxan fleet. You stopped evolving because you thought you'd reached the peak. We never stopped, and we never will. The alien commander's response was lost in the sound of his flagship's hull breaching. Around the world, Kraxan ships were falling from the sky or retreating in disarray. Their perfect evolution had rendered them incapable of handling an enemy that could change faster than they could think. Humanity's first major victory in the war was about to be recorded, but it wouldn't be the last. The Kraxen would return, of course, but next time, they would face an armor system that had evolved even further, guided by the very limitations they had once mocked. The Kraxen flagship's emergency council chamber crackled with tension. Supreme Commander Vexthor faced his assembled war leaders, their crystalline forms reflecting the harsh emergency lighting. Their perfect evolution had proven inadequate against humanity's technological ingenuity, and now dissent was spreading through the ranks. These humans, Sub-Commander Zarkak spoke, his mandibles clicking in agitation. They've developed something we never considered possible. Their neural interface technology exceeds anything in our records. Meanwhile, in Facility 01, Dr. Chen studied data streams from the recent battle, her eyes widening at what she discovered. "Commander Rodriguez, you need to see this," she called over the secure channel. The neural network didn't just adapt during combat. It evolved. The suits are developing new capabilities we never programmed into them. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Good. Time to show them why depending entirely on natural evolution was their biggest mistake. He turned to his pilots, now fully merged with their suits. Humanity didn't get where it is by accepting our limitations. We got here by overcoming them. Every weakness became an opportunity for innovation. Every challenge drove us to create something new. The facility's sensors detected the first Kraxen ground forces beginning to descend through the atmosphere. They were in for a surprise. Humanity's cities weren't the defenseless targets they appeared to be. Years of preparation had turned Earth's surface into one vast defensive network, all controlled from facilities like this one. "Dr. Chen," Rodriguez called, "are the other facilities reporting ready?" "All sites confirm ready status," she replied. "The global neural network is online. Each suit will be connected not just to its pilot, but to every other suit in the defensive grid. The Kraxen are about to face something they've never encountered, a fully integrated human defense system." The first tremors of Kraxen weapons fire reached them deep underground. Rodriguez watched as his tactical display showed the aliens beginning their attack on major cities. They still hadn't realized that their targets were merely the surface layer of humanity's true defensive capabilities. "They think they're attacking our weakness," Rodriguez said to his troops. "They don't realize they're about to encounter our strength. Pilots, prepare for launch sequence. Show them what human innovation can really do." The massive launch doors began to open above them, revealing the first glimpse of sky. The Kraxen ships were visible now, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight as they positioned themselves for what they thought would be an easy conquest. Dr. Chen's voice came through once more, tight with controlled excitement. "Neural interfaces at optimal levels. Power systems at full capacity. Commander, the order has been given. We are clear to launch." Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile as he looked at the assembled armor units, each one a testament to human ingenuity and determination. "Let's introduce the Kraxen to humanity's response to natural selection. Launch all units." The ground began to shake as the first wave of armor suits activated their launch systems. Above them, the Kraxen were about to learn that dismissing humanity's technological achievements as mere crutches had been their gravest error. The true power of human adaptation was about to be revealed, and nothing in the Kraxen's evolutionary history had prepared them for what was coming. The Kraxen assault force never saw the first wave coming. Their sensors, calibrated to detect natural biological signatures and conventional weapons, failed to register the armor units until they were already airborne. By then, it was too late. Commander Rodriguez led the assault personally, his armor unit moving through the air with impossible grace for something its size. The neural interface translated his thoughts into action with zero lag, making the massive machine feel like an extension of his own body. Around him, dozens of other units rose from hidden launch sites across the globe, their adaptive camouflage shifting to match the sky. Multiple Kraxen dropships descending through the upper atmosphere, Lieutenant Zhang reported through the neural net. They're still maintaining their original attack pattern. They haven't adjusted their strategy. Through the command network, Dr. Chen's voice added, their orbital vessels are showing signs of confusion. Their sensor sweeps have increased by 300%. They know something's wrong, but they can't figure out what. Rodriguez watched as the first Kraxan dropship entered his unit's range. The alien vessel was beautiful in its way, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in rainbow patterns. But beauty wouldn't save it from what was coming. All units, he broadcast, engage according to plan. Show them what human innovation can do. The armor units struck with coordination that would have been impossible without the neural network linking them. Each suit moved in perfect synchronization with the others, their attacks forming patterns the Kraxan's tactical computers couldn't predict. The aliens had expected to face primitive weapons and fragile human bodies. Instead, they found themselves under attack by machines that moved with organic fluidity while hitting with mechanical precision. The first dropship didn't even manage to fire a shot. 3 armor units converged on it from different angles, their energy weapons bypassing the craft's shields completely. Dr. Chen's research team had spent years studying Kraxan technology from fragments left behind in their previous conquests. They knew exactly how to counter the aliens' defensive systems. The Earth's atmosphere blazed with energy as the Kraxan fleet launched their final assault. Every remaining ship in their armada channeled power into a synchronized blast that lit up the sky like an artificial sun. This was their last gambit, an attempt to overwhelm humanity's defenses through sheer, overwhelming force. In Facility 01's command center, Dr. Chen watched the energy readings spike off her screens. They're throwing everything they have at us, she announced, her voice steady despite the stakes. All their ships, all their power, one massive attack. Commander Rodriguez, connected to his armor unit, felt the neural network humming with unprecedented activity. The system wasn't just preparing for defense. It was evolving in real time, combining the analytical power of machines with the creative intuition of human consciousness. They still don't understand, he said, watching through his suit's enhanced sensors as the Kraxan energy wave approached. They think this is about raw power. They think if they hit us hard enough, we'll break. Supreme Commander Vexthor's voice boomed across all frequencies. Your adaptation ends here, humans. Let us show you why perfect evolution will always triumph over artificial enhancement. Dr. Chen's laugh carried a note of genuine amusement. Perfect evolution. No such thing exists. True perfection isn't a final state. It's the ability to keep changing, to keep growing. Her fingers flew across her console as she made final adjustments to the neural network. Commander, are you ready to show them what real evolution looks like? The Kraxan energy wave descended toward Earth, its power enough to shatter mountains. But humanity's armor units didn't retreat. Instead, they moved forward, their formations shifting into patterns that seemed to defy physics itself. The neural network had evolved beyond its original programming, guided by the combined creativity and determination of every human pilot connected to it. All units, Rodriguez commanded, execute Protocol Omega. Show them why humanity never stopped evolving. What happened next would be studied by both species for generations to come. The armor units didn't just defend against the Kraxan attack. They absorbed it, channeled it, reshaped it. The neural network had learned from every previous encounter, every attack, every attempt to exploit human weakness. Now it turned that knowledge into something unprecedented. Lieutenant Zheng's voice carried amazement even through the neural link. The network, it's using their own energy against them. We're not just surviving their attack, we're transforming it. The Kraxan watched in horror as their ultimate assault was turned back upon them. Their energy wave, meant to destroy humanity's defenses, instead became the power source for something new. The armor units began to glow with transformed energy, their surfaces shifting and changing in ways that defied the aliens' understanding of physics. In his flagship, Vexthor faced a truth that shattered his species' most fundamental beliefs. How? He demanded. How can you keep adapting? How can you change so quickly? Dr. Chen's response was broadcast to every Kraxan ship because we never believed we were perfect. Every limitation we faced became a challenge to overcome. Every weakness became an opportunity to grow stronger. Your evolution made you powerful, but it also made you static. Our evolution never stopped, and it never will. The armor unit struck as one, using the transformed energy of the Kraxan attack to pierce through their perfect defenses. Ships began to fall from the sky, their crystalline hulls shattering as they encountered something their evolutionary perfection had never prepared them for, an enemy that could turn their greatest strength into a fatal weakness. You thought our dependence on technology was a flaw, Rodriguez transmitted as his unit led the final assault. You never understood that it was our greatest achievement. We didn't just accept our limitations, we transcended them. The Kraxan fleet's formation broke. Ships began to retreat, their commanders finally understanding what they had awakened. They had come expecting to find a physically weak species compensating for their limitations with crude tools. Instead, they had found something far more dangerous, a species that had turned adaptation itself into an art form. In the aftermath, as the last Kraxan ships flowed into hyperspace, Dr. Chen stood in her command center, watching the data streams from the neural network. The system was still evolving, still growing, still learning from everything it had experienced. You know, she said to Rodriguez through their private channel, they actually did us a favor. How so? Rodriguez asked, guiding his armor unit back to base. They reminded us of something important, Chen replied, a smile in her voice. There's no such thing as a final form, no such thing as perfect evolution. The only real perfection is in never stopping, never settling, always finding new ways to grow stronger. As humanity's armor units returned to their bases, their neural network hummed with new possibilities. The Kraxan had come to conquer what they saw as a weak species. They left having taught humanity new ways to grow stronger. It wasn't the victory they had intended, but it was perhaps the most important lesson of all. True strength lies not in achieving perfection, but in never stopping the journey toward it. The war was over, but humanity's evolution continued. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the Kraxan began their own journey of rediscovery, learning that perhaps perfection wasn't what they had always thought it was.